700 wives, a number that seems almost impossible to fathom in our modern context. It conjures images of unimaginable wealth, power, and perhaps even excess. But what was the reality behind this staggering figure? 300 concubines. Adding to the complexity of Solomon's household, these women further blur the lines between personal life and political strategy. Were they simply symbols of status, or did they play a more significant role in the kingdom's affairs? A king with 1,000 women, the sheer scale of Solomon's relationships is enough to make anyone question the motives behind them. Was it simply a matter of personal desire, or was there something more strategic at play? To most, it's a symbol of indulgence, a king surrounded by luxury and pleasure, seemingly without restraint. It's easy to see this as a tale of unchecked power and personal gratification. To others, it's a scandal in scripture, a moral failing of one of the Bible's most revered figures. How could a man known for his wisdom succumb to such apparent excess? But what if I told you this wasn't about lust? What if the conventional understanding of Solomon's relationships is fundamentally flawed? What if we've been missing the bigger picture all along? What if every marriage Solomon made was actually a sword he never had to swing? A strategic alliance forged through matrimony, preventing countless battles and saving countless lives. What if Israel's greatest era of peace wasn't won in war, but through a network of carefully cultivated relationships? What if the key to Solomon's success lay not on the battlefield but in the bedchamber, but through the quiet chambers of diplomacy, where treaties were negotiated, alliances were formed, and the fate of nations was decided, not with brute force but with careful consideration and strategic partnerships? Today, we're uncovering the forgotten strategy of the wisest man who ever lived, a strategy that has been overlooked and misinterpreted for centuries. We're diving deep into the political landscape of ancient Israel to understand the true context of Solomon's reign, and why his 700 wives may have saved Israel more than his sword ever could. We're about to challenge everything you thought you knew about Solomon and his 1,000 women. Solomon didn't rise from obscurity, he rose from blood. He inherited a kingdom forged in war, a nation surrounded by enemies, and a legacy of conflict. His father, King David, was a man of war. His reign was marked by conflict, a constant struggle for survival and dominance in a volatile region, with the Philistines, the Moabites, the Ammonites, Edom, Syria, and more. Each kingdom vying for power, each border a potential flashpoint. David expanded the kingdom, but he made many enemies along the way. His victories came at a cost, leaving a trail of resentment and a precarious peace. When Solomon took the throne came with baggage, a legacy of war, a kingdom on edge, and a multitude of potential threats lurking just beyond the borders. A nation on edge, neighbors filled with resentment. The weight of responsibility rested heavily on Solomon's young shoulders. But Solomon wasn't a fighter. He was a thinker. He preferred the pen to the sword, the council chamber to the battlefield. His mission wasn't conquest, it was preservation. To secure the kingdom his father had built, not through further bloodshed but through wisdom and diplomacy. In the ancient world, war wasn't the only way kingdoms collided. There were other, more subtle ways to exert influence and maintain power. Marriage was diplomacy, a powerful tool used by rulers to forge alliances, secure borders, and maintain peace. When kings married the daughters of rival rulers, it was more than a wedding, it was a contract. A binding agreement between nations, sealed with vows and promises. A ceasefire, a peace offering, a way to say, we are now family, let's not go to war. A powerful message of unity and cooperation in a world often defined by conflict. And Solomon? He mastered it. He understood the power of marriage as a political tool and wielded it with unparalleled skill. 1 Kings 3:1 tells us that Solomon married Pharaoh's daughter. Egypt, one of the most powerful nations on earth, became an ally overnight. A strategic coup that instantly elevated Israel's standing in the region. That marriage wasn't about beauty, it was about borders. It was about securing Israel's southern flank and ensuring peace with a formidable neighbor. With every new wife from a foreign kingdom, Solomon wasn't expanding his harem. He was reducing his threat level. He was building a network of alliances that would protect Israel from its enemies. Moabite wife, no Moabite invasion. Ammonite wife, Averted border skirmish, Edomite wife, peaceful trade routes, each marriage a strategic move, each queen a symbol of peace and prosperity. Over time, Solomon didn't just rule Israel, he networked the region. He transformed his kingdom into a hub of diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. 1 Kings 4:24-25 says, "He had dominion over everything west of the Euphrates, and Judah and Israel dwelt in safety." A testament to the effectiveness of Solomon's strategy. Not a single war is recorded during Solomon's 40-year reign. An unprecedented era of peace and prosperity, a golden age for Israel. Why? Because the king built alliances faster than enemies could build armies. He understood that diplomacy could be just as powerful, if not more so, than military might. But peace has a cost. Every decision, every alliance, every compromise comes with a price. And Solomon paid it in compromise. He sacrificed some of his own principles and beliefs in order to maintain peace and stability. His foreign wives brought with them gods, rituals, and temples, introducing foreign influences into Israelite society and challenging the nation's religious identity. And over time, even the wisest man began to bend. The constant exposure to foreign cultures and beliefs gradually eroded Solomon's own convictions. 1 Kings 11:4 says, "When Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart after other gods." A tragic consequence of his pursuit of peace and political stability. The marriages that brought peace also planted seeds of division. The very alliances that protected Israel also threatened its spiritual foundation. The very alliances that protected Israel would eventually tear at its soul. The seeds of compromise would eventually blossom into full-blown religious and political turmoil. So, was Solomon wise or weak? A question that has been debated for centuries, with no easy answer. Depends who you ask. History is often a matter of perspective, and Solomon's legacy is no exception. Some scholars say he was politically brilliant, a master strategist who secured peace and prosperity for his kingdom through innovative diplomacy. Others say he was morally compromised, a flawed leader who sacrificed his principles for the sake of political expediency. But here's what's undeniable. Solomon understood the times he lived in. He recognized the unique challenges and opportunities of his era and adapted his strategies accordingly. In a world of tribal vengeance and generational feuds, he found a different way, a path to peace that defied the conventional wisdom of his time, not by bloodshed, but by relationship. He understood the power of human connection and used it to build bridges between nations. Ecclesiastes 3:8 says, "There is a time for war and a time for peace." Solomon recognized that his time called for peace, and he pursued it with unwavering determination. Solomon chose peace. Even if it cost him his purity, he was willing to make difficult choices and compromises in order to achieve his ultimate goal. We remember Solomon for wisdom, his insights into human nature, his understanding of justice, and his ability to solve complex problems. For riches, for the temple, the magnificent temple he built in Jerusalem, a symbol of his devotion to God and a testament to his kingdom's prosperity. But his wives, they were part of the strategy, an integral component of his grand plan to secure peace and stability for Israel. Behind every marriage was a map, a carefully calculated plan to forge alliances, secure borders, and prevent war. Behind every queen, a border not crossed, a symbol of peace and a deterrent to aggression. And when his reign ended, Israel was stable, secure, a testament to the effectiveness of his strategies and the wisdom of his leadership, but also spiritually vulnerable. The compromises he made to achieve peace ultimately weakened the nation's spiritual foundation. After Solomon, the kingdom split, a tragic consequence of the divisions that had been sown during his reign. The same kings he once pacified would rise again. The peace he had so carefully cultivated would eventually crumble. Why? Because Solomon's peace was brilliant, a masterpiece of political strategy and diplomatic maneuvering, but not eternal. No peace can last forever, and Solomon's was no exception. What can we learn from this? What lessons can we glean from the life and reign of Solomon? Sometimes the things we judge on the surface, excess, indulgence, scandal, hide something deeper, a complex web of motivations, strategies, and sacrifices. Strategy, sacrifice, complexity, the hidden dimensions of Solomon's reign that are often overlooked. Solomon's life reminds us that wisdom doesn't always look holy. Sometimes the wisest course of action requires us to make difficult choices and compromises, And peace doesn't always come without a price. It often requires us to sacrifice something of ourselves in order to achieve it. So the next time you hear that Solomon had 700 wives, remember that numbers can be deceiving, and history is often more complex than it appears. Don't just see desire. Don't reduce his relationships to mere lust or indulgence. See diplomacy. Recognize the strategic and political significance of his marriages, a strategy that kept swords sheathed for 40 years. A remarkable achievement that deserves to be recognized and understood. Want to dive deeper into biblical mysteries like this? To explore the hidden depths of Scripture and uncover the untold stories of the Bible? Subscribe and join us as we uncover the untold truths of Scripture, one verse at a time. Let's embark on a journey of discovery together and unlock the secrets of the Bible,